Hello guys, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a little bit different because now I'm a qualified nail tech. I thought I'd do sort of like a mini series on how I do stuff based on the way that I was taught during my course. Please ignore these nails, they're almost 2 weeks old. But for this first one, I thought I would show you how I prep and prepare my nails ready for acrylic application. So as you can see, there's nothing, I haven't done much to these hands. Now the very first thing I would do, either with myself or with a client, is I would sanitize their hands or get them to wash their hands so they're nice and clean. Obviously put on my PPE, my gloves, mask and all that stuff, and then once I've got them sat down I will look and check their nails and make sure there's nothing iffy about them and that there aren't any contraindications that I need to be concerned about. If there isn't, I will go ahead. And the first thing I will start off with is the cuticles. Now, I may do this in a bit of a different order to other people, but this is the way that I do it. So here's a cuticle pusher using this end first. What I'll do is I will just start to push the cuticles back. Now, when you're using it, you do not want your cuticle pusher at an angle like this, because you can actually damage the nail, or you can even damage the nail matrix, which is down by here. You want to try and keep it as parallel to the nail like this as possible when you're doing it. Now this should not cause any pain whatsoever, but I just go around where my cuticle is. Now I do my cuticles quite regularly. If you haven't done your cuticles for quite a while, or like you're doing it on a friend or something like that, don't be surprised if some of the cuticle sort of grows right up by here, because it is transparent, and until you start sort of scraping away at it, you don't quite see it. Now there is a little bit coming off, I don't know if you can see there, not a lot. But I just go around, give it a push, and I sort of go in a circle motion like this all the way along the nail. And then I go in with this end, and I'll just like go in and sort of not pushing too far under, but just sort of lift, sort of just going just underneath the manifold there and scraping off any little bits that I see. And I do that to all of the hands. Now there may be a bit of cuticle sticking up, like you can see if my camera wants to focus. In the corner by there, don't worry about that, I will get to that a little bit later. So once I've pushed all the cuticle back and used the blade edge to scrape away any excess, the next thing is I am going to go in with a file on the smooth end, and I keep my nails really short, but if somebody's got some nails, you would just tidy up the free edge and get the natural nail down to a length that the customer likes, and then you would just very carefully and gently going to buff the surface of the nail. Now the way I do it is I like to start at the cuticle, so sort of at the top here, and we work like this. And the other way, following the shape of the nail, and then we will just lightly buff the surface. Now you do not want to be pressing hard with this nail file. As I said, you are just wanting to get the surface shine off of the nail. And then after that, you are going to done that to all the nails. You are going to want to dust them, because sometimes the dust can sort of hide parts of the nail where you've missed, but all of that is looking nicely buffed. There's no shiny bit to it, which is good. Oh, crumbs, I just caught my knee. So now we have dusted that off. Now, believe it or not, before I do anything else to the cuticle, this is the step where I actually apply the tip for the acrylic. So I'm just going to find a size tip that fits me. Now, when you're applying your tip, you want it to go from side wall here to side wall across there. So if you get a tip, you can see it fits the side wall by there. But then if I turn my finger like that, too small. Go the next size up. Or if you go the next size up, like this, and you go to side wall and like that, and you can see that it's too big and it's hanging over. Why does my camera keep going out of focus? Like that, where it's hanging. Oh my gosh, camera. Like this, where it's hanging over and it's too big, you are going to want to file it down so it fits. But thankfully, in the tips that I've got, I do have a tip that fits my nail perfectly, as you can see, side wall to side wall. So once you have found the appropriate size tip, or made it the correct size, I just use some normal nail glue to apply it. And we're going to hold that there for 10 seconds or so for the glue to set. And then what I like to do, once I know the glue is stuck to the main part of the nail there, I like to press down on these corners here, because they have a habit of not gluing down and sticking up a bit. And yes, you will sometimes get nail glue on your fingers, but if you are wearing your gloves, then wallop the camera, then it's not an issue. So we have our nail tip applied. And you are going to, what I do now is I trim it to the length that the customer wants, or in my case that will be me, and I kind of want them the same length as what I've got on this hand. So I'm just gonna go in with some tip trimmers. Like so, and we are going to go lift this camera up a little bit actually. And then I'm going to go in and shape the nail. Now, because I want this hand to kind of match this one, we're going to be going with the squoval that I've got on this hand. So it's a square, but you've got the corners rounded off. And when you're filing it, you sometimes get little bits underneath the nail. I'm not sure if you can see that or not. So you just want to put the file like this underneath the bottom part of the nail to get rid of any of that. Now we are going to want to blend this tip into the nail. Now I am using natural coloured tips, but we are going to blend just this edge here. And so we are just going to gently file over where the tip meets the nail. And as you saw, I was periodically dusting the dust off so I could see how I was going. And once you're happy, give everything a good wipe over. I am just using isopropyl alcohol, but you can sort of use any nail prep or nail cleaner that you've got. And you can see that we've blended the tip into the natural nail. There is no bump between the two, if my camera wants to focus. Like there, you can hardly tell where the nail tip meets the natural nail. And doing it like this, especially if you are wanting to do natural looking tips like these, yeah, it's much better if you can't see the seam down here where the tip is attached to the nail. So now once I've done all this and all this filing, I then go in and finish off the cuticles. Now the reason I do that is because between all the filing, any bits of cuticles you've got hanging off, sometimes the file will actually get rid of it. But if it hasn't, you can go in with a pair of cuticle snippers like these. Now be very careful when trimming your cuticle, because down by here there are two parts to your nail. I don't know why my camera doesn't like to focus. Come on. There are two parts to your nail. Down by here you have got the cuticle, and like right below it by here is what is called the eponychium. Now the difference between the two is obviously the cuticle is dead tissue, your eponychium is live tissue. The cuticle is clear or transparent in colour, and your eponychium is fleshy colour. So if you ever go in with your cuticle nippers and you're trimming your cuticle, it should not hurt at all, and you start bleeding a little bit, it's because you've gone too far down and you've cut into your eponychium, and that is what's causing the bleeding. So when you're using these, please take your time, make sure that you have got adequate lighting and that you are only trimming the cuticle, you know, because you don't want to make yourself or other people bleed if you can help it. And if you have like in a funky little corner like this, use just the very tips of the cuticle nippers. Now I'm not going to be as good doing this hand because I am right-handed, so this is me offhand, and because of that, and I don't want to cut myself, I am taking it nice and slow, and I just cut off the bit of cuticle that was in the corner because that is all I can see. Now the last and final stage is to go in with your primer, dehydrator, bonder, whatever you like to use. This is a primer and a bonder in one. Oops. And you do not need to put this over the entire nail. It just has to go over the part of the nail that is your natural nail here. So you don't have to apply it to the tip bit by here. It's not, you can, but it's not going to do anything. So you just apply it to the natural part of the nail. Let that soak in and dry up. And now that nail is prepared and ready for you to apply your acrylic. So in my videos when I'm saying I've already, prepped my hands and my tips and all that stuff, this step here that I've just shown you, that is what I mean. And this is how I do it. There may be some people that do it differently. That is perfectly fine. There may be some people that don't agree with it. That is also perfectly fine. But I'm just showing you the way that I do it because this is the way that I was taught when I was doing my nail technician course. So I hope you found this video very interesting. The next one is I'm going to be showing you how I apply acrylic to a prepared nail and how I work out the ratios between the powder and liquid, the monomer and the polymer, and all that stuff. So if this kind of video interests you, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you all in the next video, guys. Bye.